The job interview that exposed racism and favoritism. Imagine walking into a job interview, and before you even sit down, the receptionist smirks at you. The manager whispers a joke and the whole room laughs. They don't know your name. They don't know your story. And they definitely don't know you're the owner's son. This isn't just an interview, it's a trap. Because you came here to expose something much bigger. The racism, the favoritism, and the toxic culture that's been destroying this company for years. And what happens next will leave the entire staff speechless. Before we start, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss amazing true stories like this one. The young man stood at the company's front desk, holding his resume. His name was David Johnson, a 26-year-old with deep brown skin and a confident smile. But the receptionist's eyes told a different story, cold, dismissive, as if David didn't belong there. "Are you sure you're here for an interview?" she asked, smirking loud enough for the people in the lobby to hear. A few chuckles followed. Moments later, the general manager walked in, glanced at David from head to toe, and whispered something to the receptionist. She laughed. What David didn't say was that this was not just a job interview. This was a test. Because David wasn't just another applicant, he was the only son of Richard Johnson, the company's founder and owner. And soon, David would be taking over the company. But first, he wanted to see why their performance was dropping every year, in his own way. David entered the interview room where 4 people sat. 3 looked at him with polite smiles, but one interviewer didn't even hide his annoyance. So, one of them said, "Do you even have the right qualifications for this position?" The general manager, who had followed them inside, chuckled. "You get all kinds these days," he muttered. David answered every question calmly, though he noticed the condescending tone, the way they cut him off mid-sentence, and how they ignored his achievements. By the end, they barely shook his hand. He left, he heard one of them say, "Waste of time." David smiled, not because it was funny, but because he had just witnessed the real problem. This wasn't about skill. This was about prejudice, favoritism, and arrogance. A week later, the company had their monthly staff meeting. Everyone gathered in the large conference hall. The general manager sat in the front row, confident as always. Then, the owner, Richard Johnson, took the stage. "Before we begin," Richard said, "I'd like to introduce our new managing director, my son, David Johnson." Gasps filled the room. The receptionist's jaw dropped. The general manager turned pale. David walked to the front, holding the same resume they had laughed at. "Some of you might remember me from last week's interview," he said. "What you didn't know is I wasn't here for a job. I was here to see how my company treats people." Dead silence. In 1 hour, I saw racism, favoritism, and office politics. And now, I know why our performance is going down, and why good employees are leaving. Over the next year, David worked day and night, not from an office tower, but on the ground, talking to employees at every level. He created anonymous feedback channels so workers could report problems without fear. He replaced biased managers with fair leaders. He introduced training programs about respect, diversity, and teamwork. The receptionist was retrained, and surprisingly, she later became one of his strongest allies. The general manager? He was removed after multiple complaints confirmed David's observations. Slowly, the company's atmosphere changed. People felt heard, respected, and motivated. Productivity rose. Talented employees who had left started coming back. David didn't just run the company, he rebuilt it from the inside. Exactly 1 year later, Richard called David into his office. "I don't know what you did," Richard said, "but sales are up 35%, our employee turnover is the lowest in 10 years, and I've never seen this kind of team spirit before." David smiled. "It wasn't magic, Dad. It was listening. It was treating people like they matter." Richard stood, placing a hand on his son's shoulder. I thought I was leaving this company in good hands. But now I know I'm leaving it in better hands. David's journey started with humiliation, but it ended with respect and transformation, and all it took was the courage to see the truth and the will to change it. If you enjoyed this story, hit the like button, share it with friends, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Because sometimes, the person you're looking down on might be the one who's about to lift everyone up.